Hello everybody, my name is Igor and I want to talk with you today about quite a serious issue and things uh, about the world, about my country, about how people live in here, the problems we face, and potentially what we should do about it, and if we should do anything about it. So first of all, let me give you a little intro. Let me tell about who I am, and why I have this perspective. First of all, so well, as you already know, I'm Igor, and I live in Moscow, in the capital of Russia, and I'm an English teacher. And because of my work, it's quite the social work. So I get to meet a lot of different people from different backgrounds, talk with them, learn their stories, communicate, and that's why I'm quite interested in social issues, social topics, activism, human rights activism, animal rights activism, environmental activism. And what I want to talk with you today about is Greta Thunberg and this thing about her, how it has affected our lives, and what's going on in Russia in connection with her. So basically, you probably already may know a little bit about her, or maybe you know a lot about her. So she's a Swedish girl of 16 years old who started protests first in Sweden and then internationally, protesting against climate change, asking governments to take any action possible. And just about a week ago, she was invited to the United Nations organization to give a little speech, and of course she gave a speech, and she was quite she just basically cut to the chase. So she explained the problem. So she said also that she was tired of people telling bullshit, putting wool over men's eyes and ears and stuff like this. And as I understand, most of people got really good impression of her and had really good understanding of it. But in Russia, the situation is a bit different, unfortunately, and that's what I want to talk about. So let me explain what I mean. Let me tell you about the situation, and let me share with you some of my thoughts, ideas of what can be done about it and what can be done in order not to have these problems. So when Greta's speech came out, it started, of course, coming to Russia. It started being aired on TV, and people started sharing it on social media. And of course, there were some people who were, yeah, you go girl, you do it, you're amazing, you're inspiring, you are so truthful and stuff like this. But unfortunately, there was a lot of criticism, and let me give you just some examples of what I have seen myself. So people on social media or in private talks, they try to mock her and try to find some arguments against. And for example, some people may go with crazy conspiracy theories, saying that, oh no, she's basically paid off by some people who are behind her back, who control her, whether it's government, European governments, or maybe it's some kind of environmentally friendly business like Tesla or something like this sponsors her. The other people would go with some strange arguments, also like connected to her age, and for example saying that she's too young to talk about such things, especially in the United Nations, and she maybe have to go to school to study, not do any activism, and just simply shut up because she has no any credibility or knowledge whatsoever. And the other people push on her. The other people push on her psychological troubles. I mean, she has Asperger's syndrome, suffers from Asperger's syndrome, but as I know, it's a quite light form of autism, and people who have it, if they work on themselves, if they if they try to integrate in society, it's never a problem, as I understand, and you may not need any medication, or so it's totally manageable thing. But unfortunately, in Russia, people can be very critical about these things, and some even say that she's crazy, she has to go to mental hospital, be on medications, and she should not be given any platform, especially the United Nations. Listening to all this criticism, of course, you may start thinking, why would people even think about it? Why would people even say so? And also one more interesting thing, which is quite important. Also, many people in Russia say that they have this idea that climate change is not real, and they think that it's kind of conspiracy theory, or maybe some buzz, or maybe there is some hype around it. So many people, unfortunately, don't even understand that this thing exists, the climate catastrophe thing. So, and let me give you some perspective onto it, why it may be happening, why people in Russia may think this way. I don't want to justify people, I just want to tell you why these sort of problems come, and I think we should tackle it, we should do something about it. So, in my understanding, as I know, in Russian schools, kids and schools and kindergartens and even universities, kids almost never hear this word climate change, climate catastrophe. They, most of schools, I would rather say 99% of schools and universities never talk about it. Of course, you may be lucky and you may study at some kind of unique, amazing school, and maybe they will talk about it, maybe they will do some recycling at school, but basically I believe that's 1% of schools, and majority of schools, they never tell kids about these problems, they never talk about climate change. Of course, they may talk about forest fires, or melting of the ice, for example, but if they talk about forest fires, they may say, oh, that's people firing the forest, or maybe unusual year, but actually we have these years over and over and over again, and they just repeat. So, and again, also government, they don't do anything in Russia, they don't do anything to educate people on this topic. They don't talk about it on TV, they don't have posters or banners or billboards in streets, they don't have social advertising about it, and generally on TV almost nobody never talks about it. The other thing we should also consider here is that Russia has quite a unique status. So Russia is the country of oil and gas, and also we make a lot of coal, and definitely we sell it, we use it in the country, sell it to China, sell it to Germany, sell it to Europe and wherever else. And of course this, well, it's all this fossil fuels, they just accelerate the climate change. And of course it's a big business here in Russia, it's a government business, there is very big money, and government is totally not happy to talk about it, to tell people that climate change exists. And actually one interesting thing, there are now a lot of young people in Russia who are interested in this thing, who try to read, who can speak English, who can go outside of the box, and learn about these problems, and it deeply touches them. All the things, I mean, like plastic pollution, recycling, zero waste life, and they already have started activating. So they started protest, they started gathering, going out to streets, asking governments to change. And actually, maybe a couple of weeks ago, there was the first all Russia protest. So the protesters were given a place very deep in the woods, really far away, just in the middle of the park, where people never go, never walk. And of course protesters, why they wanted to protest, they wanted to raise awareness, they wanted to make people join them, ask governments to take some action, for example about renewable energy, or maybe about farming, let's say, or maybe to promote electric cars over petrol cars, and of course they were given the worst place possible, where they couldn't reach any audience, where they couldn't reach any people who could hear, who could join them, and they had to. It was very upsetting actually, and the only way they had to do it. So of course they gathered, but the only way they could manage it was with social media. So they started sharing and spreading the message, sharing live videos, sharing stories on Instagram, making posts on Facebook. But unfortunately, government basically they just cornered them. They tried not to give them even a chance to talk. And that's why in Russia, unfortunately, many people they don't even understand that problem exists, because they, for example, they live in big cities, they don't see problems firsthand. Cities are clean, they're well managed. Of course, we do have some environmental problems already. We start experiencing massive wildfires. For example, this summer, all Siberia burned, was on fire, and actually scientists say that this year the temperature grew 10 degrees Celsius above the average norm, and I mean the norm from the past, the norm from 1980s. So it was extremely hot in there and extremely dry, and of course some forest fires started. And also some people say that there are some illegal forest cuttings all around, and also these criminal guys, they try to cover up their criminal activities, and they start burning the sites, making it like wildfire. So, and all Siberia was on fire. Or for example, this spring there was not enough ice and snow in the North Pole, and polar bears, they started coming to Russia, to this northern parts of Russia, like Arhangelsk and something like this. And basically the bears had nothing to eat because the ice started melting. Seals, which they happily eat there, they stopped breeding this much, so there was not enough seals, not enough food for bears, and bears started coming to people basically and trying to eat people. And can you imagine that? Totally no fun situation. You go out from your block of flats, for example, and open the door, and well, boom, hello, and there is this polar bear which is totally hungry and wants to eat you, and that's kind of scary actually. So a lot of people were scared, and again they showed it in the news, but of course they didn't say that it's because of climate change. They say, well, the bears are crazy. They decided to try to meet with people. So of course, again, with the media, you can definitely pervert all the facts and make the narrative as you want. So unfortunately, that's why people in Russia are quite distracted. They don't know. They have a lot of doubts about climate change, and they just totally don't see, because if you don't live in this Arhangelsk in the north of Russia, or if you don't live in Siberia where forests burn, you just totally don't see it. You just live your office life and never think about it. And the other problem which I wanted to talk about is this thing that people say that Greta is too young to talk in front of big audience. She's a teenager and she shouldn't be given any chance to speak. And that's another depressive and sad thing in Russia, because unfortunately school education system and universities, they are very strict with children. So basically if you look at this, it can remind you little army, and children there, they have no saying at all, so no chance to speak their mind. So for example, teachers can be very brutal with them. They may have tasked to write an essay, I don't know, about maybe some piece of literature, but if their opinion doesn't match with the teacher's opinion, they can be penalized. They can get bad marks, they can get a conflict with teachers even. And also teachers at Russian schools, they don't like when children smile, when children have their opinion. unfortunately. And so basically these people, they grow up into people who are afraid to talk. And also Russian society, they don't even consider teenagers as a part of society. They think that teenagers should not be given any chance to talk, to speak about their opinion, or maybe even not opinion, because Greta doesn't basically give her opinion. She basically just takes scientific facts, scientific consensus, where 97% of scientists agree, just drop the information and says that we're tired of inaction, please do something about it. So that's why it's really really sad story that in Russia people, many people don't understand, don't think about it. Of course, the young people, they definitely support Greta, or they try to think about it, but people who are over 40 years old, 40, 50, 60, and so on, they are unfortunately just lost generation. So they unfortunately don't question things. They watch TV, they believe any propaganda they can hear, and they don't have, I think the main problem here is that people don't have enough information, and when you don't know, you can be afraid of it. And of course, when this teenage girl tells you that, well, you know, our house is on fire, we have big massive problem, of course people just say, from psychological point of view, people don't want to believe in it, because it's too frightening, it's too scary to believe, to think about it even. The other thing I also want to talk about is the mental health. And again, some people attacked her, and some people also say that she's morally unstable, she has mental disorder. And it's another thing also, unfortunately, in Russian society there is a very big stigma about mental health. And for example, if you just mention that you have depression, maybe if you have some friends who are very progressive, they will understand, they will try to help you, they will tell you, maybe I can help you somehow, maybe you go to a psychologist, talk about it. But if it's older generations, they think that it's all bullshit. They don't believe in depression, they don't understand that depression even exists. And the government also, they never talk about it, they never raise awareness, and people just live in the dark. They don't understand that these problems exist. And of course, when there is a person with autism, or with light form of autism, or whatnot, people think that it's total freak, that this person should not be given any chance. And this is very depressive. So what am I talking about? The main point of what I want to say: be open, ask yourself questions, Google, do the fact checking. Don't believe people because they say it. Don't take it at the face value. Don't believe the TV. Ask yourself questions: why, how, is that really true? Don't be lazy to check. And of course, I think give people with different abilities or disabilities chances. Never discard them because they're different. And just be open-minded. And of course, also this thing concerns me a lot, that people in Russia, because they don't have enough information, they can say, oh, I don't believe in climate change. But what is this I don't believe? It's so weird to say I don't believe when there is scientific consensus, when we have science on board. It's not like religion, it's not Judaism, it's not Christianity, it's not like I believe or I don't believe it. It's not something abstract, it's not something that you can't prove. There is a lot of data, and I think we should not consider it like I believe or I don't believe. I think this is out of the question. I think we need to just I think we just need to take it into consideration, read more about it, and do our best. So probably that's all for this thing. That's all I wanted to say. Please like it or hate it. Of course, subscribe. My channel is just new. It's my second video. I've just started. So it's really hard and difficult to make videos, so please give me some support. Definitely leave me a comment. I'll be very happy to know what you think about these things, how you see this situation. If you have any questions, you want more details, feel free to ask, and of course I will try to link what I'm talking about, bring all the links into the comment section. So yeah, so thanks for listening, and see you in the next video. Bye.